So as far as what the writing requirements are, again, almost all of these rules are exactly the same. So no parallel fifths, octaves, or unisons. Consonants are perfect eighths, fifths, perfect unisons, major thirds, major sixth, minor sixth. Dissonance, major second, perfect fourth, major seventh, minor seventh. So it's all the same. Same rules. Oops, sorry, you can't see that. All right. So parallel fifths, octaves, and unisons are bad. Avoid them. Consonants are the same. Perfect eighth, perfect fifth, P1, major 3, major sixth, minor sixth. Dissonances are the same. Major minor second, perfect fourth, major minor seventh. Okay? And they'll still have the same rules where if you find dissonances, there will be passing tones or whatever. Now, there are a couple of things that are different, all right? So, obviously, 16th century is in modes, whereas 18th century, we get actual keys, all right? So, C major, D major, G major. Vertical sonority, based on intervals above the lowest sounding note. This is based on functional harmony, so 1, 4, 5, 1. Just base it on that, okay? So you'll have inversions. So 5, 6, 5, 6, 4, first and second inversion will appear. It's not just based on the lowest voice, all right? So you just treat it like regular music. Dissonance is regulated metrically according to the beats. Dissonance here, still regulated, but not very strictly, all right? So it can appear pretty much anywhere on the beat, whereas here, dissonances could only appear on weak beats, right? Only on beat 3 and 4 if it's in 4/4. 16th century dissonant tones are restricted to a passing tone. So non-harmonic devices extend to passing tones, neighboring tones, suspension, anticipation, paginatura, escape tone, changing tone, pedal tone. So all of those tones that we learned about, non-harmonic tones, they all apply here, okay? Melodic sequences are rare. Here, melodic sequences are the most important part of the style. All right, so that's a big difference. So here we would avoid melodic sequences. Here, that's the whole point. All right, rhythmic figures are seldom repeated. Here, rhythmic figures are repeated all the time. Okay, and in the same voice, and always repeated all the time, all the time, all the time. So here, you would never repeat something twice in the same voice. Here, you do it, it's encouraged. All right. Here, no bar lines in the original manuscripts. Bar lines in the original manuscripts. You're not going to be reading too many 16th century polyphonic manuscripts, so I'm not too worried about doing that. So yeah, otherwise, as far as writing goes, you've got a soprano and a bass voice. So the four-voice chorale is a good example of two-voice counterpoint. So you find the general style quite familiar if you're familiar with four-voice chorales. Bach is also super famous for writing a lot of those. So yeah, you're just going to have two different voices. Now, do remember that the harmony does not change on every beat. All right? So it's more like almost every measure it's going to change. So it's far less fluid as far as that goes. So it tends to be more florid, less predictable in regard to harmonic rhythm. So you could have chord changes once every measure and then suddenly get one on every beat. So invention 4 maintains pretty steady harmonic rhythm of one chord per measure, but like number 10, for example, it's totally variable. So it's just whatever Bach felt like doing. So these are acceptable chord progressions. 1, 5, 6, 1, 6, 2, 6, 5, 1. It's a good one. You don't want to do unacceptable chord progressions. So we don't do circle progressions and no cadence, all right? So you need clearly defined functional harmony. Before you begin to write counterpoint, plan the cadences and other chord progressions carefully, making sure they include a sufficient number of circle progressions to provide the necessary forward motion. So here we've got our circular progression. This, not a circle progression, right? 1, 3, 1, 2, 6, 3, 6, 1. There isn't a cadence here. There's no 5, 1. And it's not a circle progression. So you want circle progression. Circle progression good, not circle progression bad. So again, avoid parallel fifths and octaves and unisons. You have to be really vigilant about that because it's tough. It's tough to avoid, so be careful. Yeah. So keep that in mind. Also be aware that non-harmonic tones cannot be used to avoid parallel perfect intervals, all right? So you don't want to avoid parallel fifths by throwing in like a third, okay? Also, perfect to diminished or diminished to perfect, you also want to avoid that, right? And these notes in the middle that are neighboring tones and stuff like that, no good, because here's our rhythm, right? So we've got C and C right there, so that's 8. And then here, we've got D and D, right? So between these two, this C and this C comes back here, and this D and D, parallel octave, right? So it's hard to avoid, just be super aware. So you've got to change one of these to avoid hitting that parallel octave. Same with the parallel fifths. So here we've got parallel fifth, right? So E, oh sorry, G, my bad. So G and C, right? So you can't use this guy to avoid it. So, and that's what we call either hidden fifths and hidden octaves. Down here you'll see examples of it. So see them both skip. So you have an eighth to a fifth. So you want to try to avoid this also. So having a fifth followed by an octave should be avoidable, all right? Although it is permissible if the upper voice only moves by a step, all right? So in this case, this major third to the perfect eighth, that's okay, all right? So having a large skip in both voices is what you want to avoid. All right? So, with a few exceptions, the non-harmonic tones available in chorale harmonizations that we already went over in the last book are also found in two-voice counterpoint. So, unaccented passing tones, unaccented neighboring tones, anticipations at cadences, changing tones, retardations, accented passing tones, accented neighboring tones. All these things are A-okay, right? All these suspensions that we talked about last week, pedal tones, like that long, long note that was just trilling, that was free material, that's a pedal tone, right, that I was talking about. Non-harmonic tones to avoid. Those are the only ones you want to avoid. So a 2-1 or 9-8 suspension and no appoggiatura. Okay? That's it. The other thing is you don't want to do too many double successive notes. That's not good. You don't want that. You want to mix it up, right? So this is how Bach does it. You can have 3 in a row. That's cool. Even 4 in a row is okay, but you don't just want 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, everything in thirds, okay? So avoid writing more than 4. 4 is kind of the limit. After 4, it gets super boring, and you don't want to do it. All right, so that's it, really. So what we're going to do is the first assignment, 2.1, what you're going to do, and you can see it all written out here actually, is you're going to identify your motive and your counter motive in this Bach convention. And I'll post a link to it so you can hear it. I want you to get creative, get colorful, get some markers, colored pencils, crayons, whatever. And you're going to mark these off together. All right? And mark all of your motives. Mark your counter motives. All right? And then any free material that you want to call free material, you can call it that. Yeah. Or combination material. I would call this free material. And this is definitely a sequence, so you want to mark sequences, right? So, yeah, this is basically it. Here, we've got more free material, all right? And you're going to do also just a basic analysis. All right, so these are all 1 chords. We're in the key of F major. Look out for key changes, all right? So the first page is basically done for you. I'll let you get a good shot at it. And then the next, also mark your cadences. And I just want a very rough analysis, okay? And then the second page, you're going to do more of the same, all right? So it goes to the first 2 pages, 41 and 42. And then the only other thing we're going to do, and I suggest you do this in finale, is you're going to choose, and honestly, you can choose 1 through 4, just pick 1. So pick 1, all right? And you're going to take this bass line, whatever it is, all right? They're very nice to hear. They actually give you the chord structure. And you're going to write your own soprano line, okay? So write the soprano. You may want to take it into finale. You want to use finale, notepad, or a MUS score, I would suggest. All right? And you're going to write your own brief Bach convention. So the bass line's been provided. You can pick from any of these. All right? And yeah, go for it. See what you can come up with. Motives, counter motives, map them out, put it in finale, and then you could just play it and hear it back. Or MUS score, you could just play it and hear it back. So that's all I've got for you. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you in class on Wednesday, on Tuesday. And yeah, I look forward to talking to you guys. Hope this makes sense. It'll be a very colorful assignment. So I look forward to your motives and counter motives. And I'll see you guys next week. All right, bye-bye.